The levels are good. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. So today we're gonna be working on a very important assignment. Let me show you more or less. Let me make sure my YouTube live is working. Yes, it is. Okay, I could close this right now. All right, so okay, great. So let me show you my VS Code. So we're gonna start with this part right here. I prompted my user agent, why is my HTML or code disappearing from the HTML pane in the blank sandbox? If so, can we put a save button, right? So this is what we're going to be looking at. I added these buttons before. I only have run and clear. Okay. So right now we're going to add save button, because what happens is that every time I was doing my work here, and I would add HTML code in here or CSS code in any of my panes, for some reason they would disappear. And then this is the answer he gave me, right? Let me first of all, let me get this out the way. I am going to just making sure everything's recording, the sound and everything great. So now I'm gonna go to file, and then I'm gonna go to settings, and then I'm gonna go hide OBS. I'm gonna press apply. Okay, now OBS is hidden. I'm gonna put it on my other screen because I want to make sure that I can look on my other screen and make sure that everything's working by just looking on my other screen. I don't have to constantly shift around the windows on my main laptop or my main screen. This is my second screen. Let me see, where can I put this? I'll put it right here. Okay, guys, so let's roll. So he says, I'm going to fix this by adding persistent storage plus a real safe button in the blank sandbox. So you can, right? So your HTML, CSS, and JS stays after refresh or reopen instead of disappearing. So I'll first inspect the current sandbox, HTML, JavaScript, and then patch both files. Okay. So I confirmed the issue. The sandbox was never persisting editor content. So refresh, reopen could wipe that what you typed. I am adding a save button plus auto save to local storage and a small status label so you can see safe state. So the status label is this one right here. Restore 10:25:17 a.m. So that's the status label. So now I wonder why I can still see this if I took it off. I could still see my OBS when I tab. Okay, that's fine, I guess. So when I tab like this, you can see OBS there. Or maybe you can't, but I can. So now let's go over here and read the rest. So a save button plus auto save to local storage and a small status label so you can see save states. So the save feature is implemented. I'm running a quick diagnostic check on both sandbox files to confirm there are no errors. So he ran the diagnostic check. Your code was disappearing because the blank sandbox only rendered live in memory and had no persistencies, no persistence layer on refresh, reopen, or accidental clear. Contents could be lost. It didn't have a persistent layer, that's why. So then he said I added a safe system and persistence in the blank sandbox HTML. So if we click here, I don't think we need to look at the code right now, but and if we click here, also you see, if not save status, then return But if it is saved, then save status, then it gives you the message, or it gives you is an error. All right. So let's go ahead and keep moving. So what's new? The save button added a new save button in the preview toolbar. Save status indicator, show message like saves. Yeah, that's what I showed you earlier, right? The save message, all right? So restore draft cleared and local draft persistence. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript pane now saved to local storage. Draft auto restores when you reopen the sandbox. So if I were to close the sandbox and open it tomorrow, it will be saved, okay? To clear behavior improve, clear now removes both pane content and the store draft, okay? So no errors. Because here's how to use. Type in the pane as usual. Click save anytime for explicit save. Refresh, reopen the page, and your draft should restore automatically. If you want, I can also add export and import buttons so you can download, upload your draft as a file backup. So when I press save, where is it saved? I wanted to know where is it saved. And then he said that it's going to be saved in your HTML draft into a local storage under this key. All right. So that's where it's going to be saved. So what that means is it stays in the same browser profile on this machine. It restores when you reopen the same sandbox page. It will not appear as HTML text file in your folder. It will not appear as, okay, so if browsers site data local storage is clear, it is removed. If you want file-based saving, I can add an export import button. Okay, so I said yes, please. I'll add an export and import button to the blank sandbox so you can save a real file and reload it later. Then I'll validate both files for errors. I am checking the current HTML JavaScript first to merge safely with your latest edits. And he says, I've got the latest version. Next, I'm wiring the export import controls that create a real backup file and let you restore it into all three panes with one click. Okay, great. So export and import is wire. I'll run a quick diagnostic to pass, ensure that the files are clean and runnable. So done. I added real file backup support to your blank sandbox. Then he updated the files, right? So if we look for the save button, the import, let's look for the import. Control find import, right? That's the import button. This is the button with the ID import type, import title, import draft file, and then the actual text that we see on the button is import, all right? And then if we go to the blank sandbox JavaScript, right? Sandbox, we could look for import and look at import right there. So basically we got the import button and the import file input. So basically we created a constant variable with the identifier import button, and then we went and went to the document, the global document, right? And we ran this method right here, and we went and got the import, whatever the import produces, and we put it into the import button. We did the same over here. Import file, and we saved it into the import file import file input variable, right? And we did the same thing with run, clear, and save status. All right. Now I'm not sure. Let me see. Control find. How many times do we have import here? Okay, we got the function here. Import draft from text. So basically, we got a function here, which is called import draft from text with a parameter text. And then within that function, we got a variable called parsed. And then we declared it and assigned it whatever the text that we parsed that inside the actual JSON, whatever we typed, we then save it into parse. If there is no parse or type of parse, and it's not an object, then we throw an error, invalid file format. So if all this stuff fails, then invalid format. If not, then keep going, right? And then we go user HTML value, right? We're looking for the value type of parse .html equals string, right? And if it's not, then we're going to stop. But if it is, then parse.html. Then, you know, get the HTML, get the CSS, get the JS, get the SQL, get the CRUD. If all this stuff pass here, right? If it's a string, if it's, you know, if there's something in there, then it passes. Then we build, we save draft, and then we set a save status, okay? And let's see if there's any more of these. There's 14 of these. So. And this one is the listener, right? When we click on the button, then we're gonna import the file, input on click. All right. So all this stuff is JavaScript. This is just, we're applying the actions to all the buttons, what they're supposed to do, and then what they're gonna do. I'm not gonna read every line of code, but this is just a synapse of what they do. All right. So let's keep it moving. So now what's new? Export button. Download your current HTML, CSS, JavaScript as a JSON file. File name includes timestamp like blank Sandbox draft 2026, the time and the date, and then import button lets you pick a previously exported draft file, restore all 3 panes from that file, rebuild preview and save to local storage immediately. Status feedback shows draft export. So I mean, we can probably do this. Let's go ahead and export. So when we export it, here it is. Let's go ahead and click it, open, and here it is. Now this is inline, or I forgot what's the actual name of this, but I think it's inline-block code or something like that. What's the name of this type of code? What is the name of this type of code? Is a J. I know that it is a JSON, but yeah, I'm gonna have to put this in my other user agent because I don't want him to skip all the way down there. Then I have to scroll back up. I know that it is a JSON. I know that is a JSON, but what type of coding language or coding term is this? So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. Well, actually, I'm gonna copy all this first, and then I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna click on my Gemini guy, and I'm gonna put this in here, and then I'm gonna take this over here, copy it, and then I'm gonna press Shift Enter like that. I don't prompt him. I don't want to prompt him. Yeah, I want to enter more text. Enter, and then here, and then I prompt him. So he's going to say, well, the data structure itself is written in JSON, JavaScript, object notion. The specific concept you're looking for is a configuration file, a data interchange format, or more specifically in this context, a state snapshot or serialization. Here is a breakdown of the exact coding terms that describe this type of file. So that's not the word I was looking for. Well, yeah, key value pair. That's more like it. Or a manifest or a project blueprint. There's another word I was looking for. When I look at it, it comes to mind, but I just can't remember. I know I have to do with these this right here. Let me see if I remember. Key value pair. This is a serialized JSON snapshot of the Sandbox project state. What is this again? So let me see what he says about that. In programming, this is a new line character, line breaks. It acts exactly like pressing enter and return, right? Telling the computer to stop writing on the current line and move down to the start of the next one. Why is it running like that? How it looks in JSON. Okay, and the code snippet you provided, you can see it used right here, right here. Yeah, we know that. Okay, guys, so all right, I just wanted to, I know for some reason it's telling me that it has to do with these line breaks, but whatever's the case, we got our answer, and our answer, the best one out is a key value pair. These are all key value pairs. This is the key, and this is the value. This is the key, the CSS, right? And this is the value. All right, so now, let me X this out, right? So if I were to, let's say, get rid of all this stuff, okay, and then get rid of this, and get rid of this, and then get rid of this. Oh, I could just press clear. Okay, so I cleared everything. However, I want to import what I just exported. No, I got to go to downloads, and the latest one obviously says here 324. So let's click this one, and there it is. Great. We have everything back in section. All right, guys. So we're doing pretty good. My recording isn't lagging. All right, so all right, let's keep it moving, guys. So right now I recorded 3 different prompts. The first one was, why is my HTML disappearing, or why is the code disappearing in my sandbox? And when I press save, where is it saved? And I prompted him to please do add the other buttons, import and export. Okay, guys. So, and then I prompt him, why is it exported in JSON? I think this is where we left off. No. All right, guys. So I will, yeah. Let's read this one, and then let's see. It exports in JSON because the sandbox has 3 separate code panes and metadata. So JSON is the safest way to store all of it in one file. So what JSON is storing, right? So it's storing HTML, pane tags, right? And then CSS and JavaScript. So metadata like save at and format version. Okay. So why this format was chosen? Easy to import back into the exact same 3-pane structure, no parsing, ambiguity. Yeah, that word, ambiguity. Between sections, future-proof for adding more fields later, setting, theme, etc. If it exports as a single HTML file, we'll have to merge CSS, JavaScript into one document. Yeah, we would have to do some merging, loose clean separation of the 3 editor panes on a re-import, make import logic more fragile. So if you want, I can add a second export option, export draft for round trip editing, export page for sharing, running directly in live server. That's fine. We're doing pretty good. So this is the end of this video. Thank you, guys. At least this is the end for the video that's not live. I'm gonna keep recording, but right now this is the end of this video. This is the one I'm gonna upload. So thank you for being here with me. I'll see you in the next video. All right, so maybe I should set up my before I start recording again. Let me set up my Stream Deck, because I don't have to look to the right to stop it, right? I want to be able to just press the button over here and just keep going and maybe take a peek if it stopped or not. Or I could look on my Stream Deck. It tells me my Elgato Stream Deck. That's a control panel that I use to stop and pause and, you know, switch windows or whatnot. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to Elgato right here. Now I have to set this up again. This is always I think my my Elgato came that damaged my Stream Deck. All right, so good, because I have to constantly set it up. So if I press this, okay, so it's working right now. All right, guys. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and wait a minute. I have to maximize it because if I don't, it'll turn off. When I minimize it, it turns off. But if I maximize it and minimize it, it works. All right. Oh, didn't work this time. That's weird. There's always something with these devices. It's supposed to stay on. How about if I put it over here? Yeah, let me put it over here, and I'm not gonna minimize it. I'm just gonna leave it there. Let's see if it still works. Yeah, it does. All right. So the next one is gonna be, what database language are we using? Okay. Great. So let's keep it moving. Hello, welcome. So in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and work on my database pane, and we're talking about this pane over here. This, I believe is the CRUD pane. And if you guys don't know what CRUD means, it means create, update, and delete. And the R is for create. Create, update, and delete. I think it's not remove. Let me see. So let's see what he says here. So I'll add a dedicated CRUD practice pane to the sandbox and wire it into a safe export import. So it behaves exactly like the other panes, all right? Then I'll confirm diagnostics are clean. Okay, so CRUD panes support is fully wired into run, autosave, clear, export. So he wired it. I'm running a final diagnostic check on both files now. So he's running a diagnostic. Great question. So I had two questions in here. What database language are we using? And maybe can you add a pane? Okay, so he's going to answer the first question. Right now in this sandbox, you're not using a database language yet. You're using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So for CRUD here, it's JavaScript CRUD on arrays, objects, not SQL CRUD against a real database engine. So, I mean, the difference between a CRUD, JavaScript CRUD, and SQL CRUD, they use different languages in some sense. I believe that JavaScript uses the DOM or JavaScript. It uses JavaScript to, you know, make changes to the database. And SQL obviously uses SQL language. And we'll see later, because I'm going to run some tests. I'm going to run some examples, all right? So I added that for you. So now there's a new CRUD pane, which I showed you, and is wired into the blank sandbox.js. So what the new CRUD pane does, first of all, I'm very curious about what the R is. Let's see. Let me open my guy over here again. What is CRUD? You know, and the beauty about asking Gemini is that later on I could just press here and press Control All, and then I could copy this and then turn it into I could turn it into a markdown file. And then also when I turn it into a markdown file, I'm going to turn it into something like this. Yeah, into something. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, to something like this. So if you take a look at this, right? What this is that it's a markdown file, and now the questions is a question and answers, right? So now every question I prompt him is going to be formatted in a markdown file, and it's going to look like this. So now after I create this, then I practice some more. So now I look at the code, and what I want to understand even better, understand it better, I just run my triggers. So for example, I ran a trigger on, let me see, where did I run? Okay, so I ran a trigger on this actual piece of block of code, this rule. So I ran the trigger because I want to just, dissect it. I just like to learn, and I like to get as much information as possible, right? To soak as much information as possible. So then he went ahead and creates this 7-layer or section trigger, and it starts with the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, is this it? Yeah, this is it. So yeah, it's called expanded. So I ran the trigger on this on this sentence right here, right? And it's a div by default, a row container. So when I prompt him this, he gave me a full explanation with 7 sections explaining why it's not a row container. So you got the first section, 1, how it works. The second section, use like this. And then use like this is an example that I can actually practice, that I can actually use in my sandbox. And all I have to do is follow his instructions over here, right? So let me show you. This is the exact moment the parents div. Okay, so that's not it. Oh, no. This part, he's explaining that this piece of code comes from, yeah, this is the example. So let me just keep reading. It's just that it's so long. The example is so long that first he prepares you by explaining what they do. All right. Yeah. This is not the sandbox part. It's not. Or is it? So he's telling me put this first in my HTML, right? And then put this in the CSS, and then we're gonna definitely get some an output. But the actual one that I'm talking about, because this is not the recipe. This is not the recipe. So let me prompt them again to see if I remember how this works. Let me see. I'm gonna have to do this anyway. So where am I here before I do this? I'm in what database language? Okay. So let me prompt them here. How does this work? I thought it works like the sand. Well, let me look for that trigger right here. Like the sandbox recipe. That's what I thought. So my X, right? I thought it works like. Let me take off that backslash. I don't like it. Like the sandbox recipe. Yeah, let me go ahead and ask him. So this video is going to be a little longer because now this is a learning moment. So great catch. You're seeing 2 different things. Sandbox recipe trigger, template behavior. This is a the generation pattern rule. It tells me how to format instructions, right? Go, HTML, Paint, CSS, and all that good stuff. It does not run code by itself. It produces transcript. Use like this on inside an expand block, right? This is a section in your transcript content. It shows where, how the concept is applied in your lesson. It is explanatory content, not the trigger engine. So why it feels different? You expect line 124, right? Right here. Use like this to behave like invoking Sandbox recipe. But that line is just the written output section, not the trigger call. How to actually invoke Sandbox recipe behavior. So use a direct request phrase such as apply Sandbox. Then I generate or update the recipe block using the trigger rules. If you want, I can now rerun the Sandbox recipe style specifically for the selected. No. So basically what he's saying is that this is so he says that that line is just the written output section, not the trigger. So use like this on blank. Oh, see, that's where the confusion started. Yeah, because I renamed this. Yeah. So guys, don't worry too much about this. We will get back to this. But if I were to take this, right, copy, and I were to clear this, let me clear it, and I were to add the HTML, we get this, but the binary set, don't worry about that. That's not supposed to be there. It's just that I took everything with me, and then I go ahead and apply some CSS, right? This CSS rule. So what it's going to do is it's just going to give it a gap over here. So in other words, we can use it to learn how it works. So I was right to some extent, except it's not a full recipe. It's not a full example. So to some extent, we are learning how the HTML block of code works, right? And how this rule works. So we're able to get more information and learn how it works. That's pretty much why I was comparing, or I thought it was the same as the Sandbox recipe, which is all the way down here. There's a Sandbox recipe up here actually. So this is a Sandbox recipe. This is the trigger that I ran earlier, right? So build a mini card with a buy button. So this, okay, so you see what I mean? This is the actual name. So that was the problem, you see. It's called blank sandbox. You type everything. So I confused it because the name, this title and this title on the tab supposed to be the same thing, but for some reason I changed it up here. And this is where the confusion started, right? So if you look at now, we read over here again, right? So it's saying, right? So in this markdown, which is actually what it's supposed to be called, right? Blank sandbox, right? Used like this, right? Yeah, but in this case, it's telling me to put this in. Okay, cool. And then here, use like this on is used. Is used. It's not present. It's in the future, right? What's the term? How do you say that? Yeah, you know what I mean. So just use like this in this markdown. So if you look at the code again, but the final code is actually all the way down here. So I could show you just to make this point. So the final code is all the way over here. So if we look for actions, it's used like this in this markdown file. Great. So It looks like I've recorded long enough, and I want to make these videos as short as possible. So guys, we'll get back to this. It'll make a lot more sense as we keep using these triggers. Okay, so now where did we leave off? I gotta make sure I know where we left off. Like that, we could keep it moving. And you see, we're gonna cover all these prompts because they're very important. They're very important in order for us to move forward and teach ourselves how to learn how to code, not teach ourselves how to code. That's easy. You want to learn how to code, go to a video, any video tutorial, and they'll teach you how to code, but will it stick? You know, are you gonna know how it works, the code? Like we're doing right here. We dissect the code. And you're learning not how to code, you're learning how to learn how to code. Something. You know, self again, I always like going to my notes. This is what I mean right here. So I have a notice mindset patch required. Stop trying to memorize syntax and start learning how to think like a developer. So basically, master this framework, and you can. So basically, it says here, start building confidence by solving one clear problem at a time. This tutorial focuses on self-direct learning. This is what it's based on. Self-directed learning. Okay, TMI, I guess. That's why my videos are never short. I'm always talking about different subjects, and they're all correlated. But all right, so let's go to where I left off. Okay, so this is it. What database language are we using? And maybe can you add a pane to also learn how to CRUD, how to use CRUD, right? So I believe this is where we left off. And that's it, guys. We could go over this one. So let's go over this one before we move on to the next video. So he said, I added dedicated CRUD practice pane to the sandbox and wired it into a safe export import. So it behaves exactly like the other panes, right? Then I'll confirm diagnostics are clear. So again, I was looking into what CRUD means. Did he give me the answer to that? Okay, so here it is. I never read it. So create, read, okay, update and delete. So I already know what this means, and I'm sure you guys know. It's self-explanatory. Create, it just creates the data, it reads the data, it updates it, and then it deletes it. Okay, so now we know. Great. All right, so he says CRUD pane support is fully wired and to run autosave, clear, export, and import. Okay. So then great questions. Oh, okay, so this is yeah. I think we did this part again already, but we're gonna do it again anyways, all right? So great question. Right now in this sandbox, you are not using a database language yet. We're using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So for CRUD here, this JavaScript create, read, update, and delete on arrays, objects, not SQL CRUD against a real database engine. So I added that for you, new CRUD pane. Okay, so if we click here, we're gonna see that he added the CRUD pane, and we could easily look for that by just type in CRUD, right? Enter. And this is still HTML. You type HTML, the CSS and optionally JavaScript, live preview updates as you type, no save, no refresh. Use run to commit a manual rebuild. After big paste in CRUD panes, use the JavaScript data structures, and SQL pane uses in-browser SQLite for query practice. All right. So I mean, it's nothing out of this world. We all know what's going on here, right? He basically created the SQL. This is SQL. So this is the wrapper div, right? The root wrapper div, right? And within this wrapper div, we gave it an attribute of class, and the value is editor. And then we to the child element, we then created another attribute within this div container, and it's called editor label. So this element, this container is called editor label, and we gave it a span with a tag attribute value or tag SQL, right? And then we gave it another span, and it's basically text optional run as SQLite. So if we look at the SQL, we're optional. This is the basically the heading or the text, right? And then we gave it a text area with an ID of user SQL, a spell check false, and a placeholder, right? So the placeholder is basically what you see in here, okay? And that's it. That's what this container is full of. It's about the SQL pane. And then we did the same thing with the CRUD. Now, if we go to the JavaScript, this is where the action happens, right? This is what makes CRUD work. This is the brain, right? So control find. We go to CRUD, and let's find the beginning. Okay, this is number one. Okay, so number one is this one. So basically, we created a variable here, right? With the identifier use CRUD, and it identifies that, meaning that that's the name of the variable. And then we went to the global document. We looked into the global document, and we got this function. So now it's a method because it's being used by document to get element by ID. We got the element by ID, which is user CRUD, which is over here. If we look for user CRUD, this is the ID. So this is how we went and user CRUD. So what happens when we went and got what's inside here, the text area. And let's go to the next one. That's what I believe. I don't think this is for the button. There's no button there. So that's why it went and got the what's inside. Whatever you put inside the pane is now saved in here. Okay. So now if we go ahead and look for this now, Control F, let's see where it goes to. All right. So now in here, we create a function called save draft, and we do a try and catch. And this is basically for a fallback or fail-safe situation. And we try to get the value, and then we save it into CRUD. Let's see. Oh, there's 10 of these. And we get the value of the draft also. What was the other one? Oh, I gotta click in here. Go back up. This is a try catch. It's different. Okay, so and then this one is where you actually save the value. Let's go back up again. Yeah. And if it has value, okay, so it looks like the try catch is first before we enter the value, which is kind of weird. So how are you gonna check to see if there's a value if you're checking to see if it has any first? But yeah, I don't think it matters the order. Right, so let's see the next one. Oh, it's only two of them. Well, wait, is there another try catch? How many try catches are there? We got low draft, and then the get draft payload. Oh, the payload, everything. And then we have to import draft from text. Oh, this is importing. Yeah, they're different ones. All right, guys. So I think we got enough information. We was just playing around with this and see how much we can get out of JavaScript code and see how far we could go into understanding and reading the actual language like that, we know how to read JavaScript and eventually code it ourselves, right? At the end of the day, I'm most likely coding all this by memories. It's not gonna be the main goal, though. That would be nice, right? That you could just type it in, right? But I think if we just stick to the snippets and the code blocks, we're gonna be fine. All right, guys. So I think this is enough for now. Let me see. Did we finish it? So we clicked on these two files and we went into explaining as much as we can. What the new CRUD pane does, it runs before your main JavaScript pane, right? Lets you practice, create, read, update, delete. It's included in the autosave, it's included in the export and import. Is cleared with the clear button. That's amazing. Also added, let me give them a thumbs up. I haven't given them a thumbs up in a while. Also added note in the header. It explicitly says this sandbox uses JavaScript data structures and has no SQL database engine. Why would you say that? But whatever. That's not nice. We have well, it doesn't have a SQL engine as of now. All right. Everything validated, no errors. If you want next, I can add an optional SQL. Okay, so now, all right, guys. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the next video. It was my pleasure. If you guys have any questions, please put the comment below. I'll see you then. All right, so I stopped that video because now I'm going to the next one because I'm gonna cut these into sections per prompts. And the next prompt is, I'm not sure how to use this. And what is the difference versus SQL mode pane? And don't they both update, change, or delete data? And can you give me an example so I can run in this new pane? Great. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to the next video. I just skimmed through it. So now I'm gonna press start so we can start recording on my local computer, so then I can eventually load it up to YouTube and edit it and make it look nice, so you guys don't have to look at my 5-hour long video, because this is pretty much how long it's going to take me to finish this section over here. Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me in this video. So today we're going to go ahead and look at this prompt over here, and we're going to go through it line by line, step by step, and figure it out. So let me show you what was the prompt, right? So the prompt reads, I'm not sure how to use this, and what is the difference versus SQL mode pane, right? Don't they both update, change, or delete data? And can you give me an example that I can run in this new pane? So great. So my question is basically, what's the difference between this panel or pane, SQL, and CRUD? They both deal with updating, with CRUD, create, read, update, and delete, making changes and updates in my database. So then he goes ahead and explains, great questions. You are right that both JavaScript CRUD and SQL CRUD do create, read, update, delete. The difference is where and how the data is managed, right? So JavaScript CRUD pane, what you have now, data lives in memory as array and objects. Okay, so basically, number one, he created an unordered list over here, explaining what they do with bullets, right? So basically, what we have now, supposedly what we have now, this is before me creating the SQL. We're talking about this one. So JavaScript CRUD pane, data lives in memory as array objects, super beginner friendly for logic practice, right? Fast to test behavior, data is usually temporary unless you also save it. Great, so SQL mode pane. Now we're talking about the SQL pane, which is this one over here, right? So SQL mode pane, optional future upgrade. It's funny how he says that we can upgrade it. Well, okay, so let's keep reading. Yeah, so data lives in database table with rows and columns. Great. You use SQL queries like insert, select, update, delete. Okay, so better for real app patterns, constraints, joins, transactions, and indexing, closer to production back end workflow. All right. So I mean, this is self-explanatory. I don't think I have to go through each line of or through each bullet. You guys know what all this means, right? This is self-explanatory. If you don't, leave a comment below, and I would love to explain it. But I doubt it that you guys need any explanation about this. So this is how to use your current draft export system. So click export to download. Well, we know how to do that because I already showed you in the previous video, right? All we have to do is export it, and then we're going to get a file over here. And then if we want, we could clear this and then press import, so we can import, and then we're going to fill these panes up with the appropriate code. In this case, HTML code, CSS, JavaScript, SQL, and that other, and JavaScript CRUD. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and try this runnable example in the new CRUD pane. Step one, put this in the HTML. So we're going to put this in the HTML. So basically, I did already do this, or we could just import it. Let me see. Put this in the HTML. Let me see. Let me import it because I already did this. So if you guys want to see how this works, it's just as simple. There you go. So basically, we're doing this example here. We put this, which is, if we look at it, this is a heading. Look at the heading right here, and then we have we created an element called pre with the pre element, with the pre tag, right? With the ID CRUD output. This is an attribute with the attribute value of CRUD output. All right. This is so we can use later. And CSS, not only CSS, I don't think we're going to use it in CSS, but in JavaScript. So we could give it action, give it life, motion. So put this in the CRUD pane. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the CRUD pane. This is the CRUD pane right here. And if we read this example here, just give you a quick synapse of what it does. So we're going to create a variable. It's called output. We're going to go get the CRUD output. All right. We're going to get the CRUD output. I mean, I wish I could, let me copy this and see if I could actually run this, put this in an actual SQL file, right? So let me see, practice SQL. Yeah, let me put it in here, right? So basically, remind me to erase this stuff because it might corrupt this file. Probably will. Is there another place where I could put this? This is CSS CRUD Labs. This is JavaScript. But this is the actual Excel. This is, yeah, because this is the CRUD and this is the, so maybe I should put it in one of these, no? Now I'm gonna prompt him, why is it that this CRUD, which is, that's because it's JavaScript. So JavaScript doesn't use an SQL file. It uses actual JavaScript in order to compile or to manipulate the data. So that's why we don't have this. So why would he want me to put this? Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So I am correct. I could add this in here. Right? Let me see. Yeah, I can. Yes, I can. So, and I will. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, right? We have one here too. Let me see what this one looks like. Okay. Hold up. That was a little ghetto right there. Hold up. So, yeah, this is all right. Hold up. Oh, hold up. Okay, so this is it right here. No, I'm missing something. It is very similar though. Where's the CRUD output? Let me copy this right here. Control find, Control V. Nope, doesn't have it. Okay, so we're working in the actual CRUD pane, right? That's what he tells me to put it, no? So let me make sure that's what he does. So put this in the CRUD pane. Okay, great. So we are here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, and I'm gonna go ahead and press V, and now I'm gonna call this the test. This is the test pane, so it's not gonna run it because it's not imported or exported or linked to any of these files. How do I know? Well, I'll show you right now. Test. I'm gonna call this test. Enter. So now the main one I'm gonna take is this one. This one I'm going to press Control C. C. Uh-oh. No, why? Okay, press save. And now, okay, save, great. So now we're gonna go ahead and look at our tests, right? And we're going to copy this, right? We're going to go ahead and all and just replace that code with this one, with ours, all right? So now I'm able to use VS Code Editor, the content pane or tab or editor right here, to my advantage, right? So I can understand this code. Not that I really needed it. I'm not a, 10 out of 10, maybe a 5 or 6, but we're here to learn. Okay, so we're gonna create a variable. It's called output, right? And we're gonna go ahead and get the element by ID. If we go ahead and highlight this, even if I press Control Find, there's only one of these. So why are we getting this in the first place? So let me see where this comes from. Let me go to HTML, right? And let me go back, Control Copy, Control Find, Control V. Let me ask him what's the purpose of this, because now I'm a little confused. Explain. I'm asking him to explain this line of code, because it's getting something that I can't find. Where is it coming from? So this line creates a variable name output, great, and stores a reference to a DOM element from the page, right? It's called right, a DOM element. This is a DOM element called document.getElement CRUD output, right? Which searches the current HTML document for an element whose ID is exactly CRUD output. So if that element exists, output becomes the element object. So later, code can update it. For example, changing text content or inner HTML. If no matching element exists, output will be null, and any attempt to use DOM methods or properties on it will throw an error. In practice, this line is the hook between JavaScript CRUD logic and visual output area and UI. So, but there is no this line creates a variable name, right? It's called right, which searches the current HTML for an element. But for an element whose ID is exactly, but there is no ID. So let me see what he says here. Oh, shit. Does not contain an element like, then this is line returns no. And later will fail. Use one of these fixes. Add the mixing element recommended. Wait, I did see this. Oh, remember that we're just creating this. Yeah, that's why. We're just creating this. Of course it exists. It's over here, you douchebag. Wait, Control Z. Did I mess it up again? All right, that's cool. So it does exist. Let me just tell him it does exist. but I'm using it in the example. Let me just send them this and it's all the way up here. All right, where is the example? Where are we just? Oh, tell me I'm lost again. I might be. No, it's all the way up here. My bad. I forgot I got like 1,000 other prompts to work with. Yeah, here it is. Wow. No, let me. Control print, alt, Control alt, print. So I give him these two so he could know that it does exist, that I'm just that I'm just lame-o, something like that, right? So you're correct. It does exist in your screenshot. The issue is likely context scope, not the ID itself. Only works in the same document where the element exists. In your case, there are two different contexts, blank sandbox and file in VS Code. So he tells me here, if this file runs on a different page, right, output becomes right. So use this. Yeah, I'm not gonna go back and forth with my user agent now. He should understand that I'm just running an example. Let me go back over here and keep running the example. What I'm doing here is I'm explaining to you what this code does, but I got sidetracked like usual because I love to dibble and dabble in everything that I see. So now that we established that, right, we're gonna go ahead and like create a variable for output, and we're going to give it the CRUD output, right? Whatever it's in here, it's gonna be saved in here in the output container or element, or should I say variable? Okay, so we're gonna create another variable. It's gonna be called products, with an array. Within this array, we have ID1 and ID2. Okay, great. All right, and we're gonna give pen a price, and we're gonna give notebook a price. Okay, good. And if we look at our output or results or display, this is what we get. ID1, name pen. ID2, name notebook. Okay, great. So now the function renders. So we're gonna create a function named render with a parameter of title. The parameter is actually the seat, and the argument is the people. So when the argument sits inside the parameter now has a, now it has a value. So the output, it's going to be, which is here, right? It's gonna be the output is now gonna use well, probably this is a function when it's alone, but right now as a method, the output is gonna use this method to print out the title, right? And then plus the product, and then 2. Why would it be 2? Let me look at this. Okay, the title. Oh, plus 2. I guess 2 is this one. And then here it's gonna do the same eventually. Let me see. Control find. Oh, it's only 2 of these. Let me ask him what this means. Wait, let me look at this. What is the 2 for? Let me ask him. What? Oh no, not here, because then I have to scroll back up and all that good stuff. Let me just copy this whole function. Let me press Shift Enter. What is the 2 for? Let me see. He's taking a look and he says, in that specific function, the 2 tells the computer how many spaces to use for indentation when covering your data into text. So it is what turns a cluttered single line jumble of code into beautifully formatted readable text. Beautifully, huh? So how JSON.stringify uses that number? The JSON.stringify function can take 3 arguments, right? Value, replacer, and space. So products, the actual data array you want to convert to text, and then no. Let me look at this real quick. Okay, here's products. Okay, great. A replacer function passing no means you don't want to filter out any data. And then the space. Okay, great. So the difference it makes if you change 2 to no or left it out entirely, your browser preview will look like an unreadable wall of text like this. But since we put space, but changing it to 2, which is what we see here, is here, the computer automatically adds a new line and inserts 2 spaces of padding for every nested layer, giving you that clean look you see in the preview. Okay, so that's great. Tip, if you change that number to 4, the code will look exactly the same, but it would push everything further to the right using 4 spaces instead of 2. Let's see what that does. Just so we can understand it. So this is the test window. So I have to actually go in here and look for it. Here, let me change it to 4. Okay, so that's where the magic happens, right here. All right, so let me go ahead and press Z, Control C, change it. I don't think I could save this. No. Okay, great. Control S does not work here. You have to actually press the save button. Okay, great. So now we understood something. This is called a learning moment. A learning moment, okay? Okay, great. So the next line of code, we're gonna go ahead. So this is to render the title plus the JSON stringify, which is the product, and giving it 2 spaces. All right. So the next function is create product, and we're gonna go ahead and create product. And create product has a parameter, and we're gonna go ahead and push the product. So let's see how many places. Where does it all starts? Control find. So number 1. Let me see. What's number 1? This is number 1. Okay, so this is where we create the product. We create a products variable. And for now, it's just 1. Don't we have others? That's interesting. Where did these come from? I think this comes from this one right here. The SQL one. We're looking at the CRUD one. And if we look at this, right? Yeah. 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 Okay, so let's keep moving, guys. We just need to understand not most of it, but as much as we can. All right. So I don't want to take too long in this video. I think we're going on to almost 20 minutes on this video, just understanding 2 lines of code, I think. And again, we're learning. That's what matters, right? Again, we create a function called create product with a parameter of product, right? And then we push the product, and then we create another function called update product. So basically, what we're doing is we're creating the CRUD functions: create product, update product, and delete product. So in order to update a product, we're gonna go ahead and take the product, right? That we're gonna get the ID, and then the updates that we made. Let me see. Well, how many places do we have updates? So fine, and it's 2 places. Okay, so we're gonna take the update from here. We're gonna create a variable called items, and we're gonna assign it. First, we're gonna use the method products find, the find method or something like that, or the find function, and then we're gonna use the fat arrow function, I believe, and we're gonna add it the ID, and basically that's how we get the ID and put it into the items. And if items object that assign items updates, if it's updated, then great. Give it to the parameter function delete, and this is product.filter. If it does not exist, then delete it. Then we're gonna have a text content here. We're gonna use this method to then assign it to, I believe, output, right? We're gonna assign it to output, and it's gonna have a string value of start state plus the string, and we're gonna give it 2 spaces. All right, guys. So that was fun, wasn't it? So okay, guys, thank you for joining me in this video. Today we learned how the the CRUD pane works, and we did a quick example. And if we run it, this is the final output. We went into understanding what CRUD means. That was in the past video, and we went into understanding this line of code. And the final thing that we understood is that the number 2 gives it a space, and we also understood that it has 3 values. We have the value, the space, and the replacer. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for joining me. It was fun. See you in the next video. Thank you. Okay, guys, so right now the next video we're gonna work on is this one over here. And this is why we don't have a separate file like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the database, and can we create one? So this one is going to be very interesting, guys. So let's go ahead and jump right on it. All right. Hello. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to go ahead and review this prompt and see what information we could get out of it. We're going to go ahead and study it, dissect it, and see if we could read some of the code. We're going to read some of the code and understand the code as much as we can. And we're going to get all that information and run with it. All right. So the prompt reads, why we don't have a separate file like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the database, and can we create one? So basically, he says here, yes, we can, and that's a smart setup for learning. I'll create a separate mini CRUD lab with dedicated HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files, so it feels like a real project structure. So he went and searched for the file matching, right, which is the CRUD lab, and he said that there was no matches. First he searched to see if it was already created. So I'm creating these separate files now: a runnable CRUD page, a style sheet, and scripts including interactive create, read, update, delete controls so you can immediately put it in the live server, right? So you can immediately run it in the live server. So basically, he went ahead, he created the separate 3 files, CRUD lab, and now I'll quickly validate there are no syntax, and then he went and ran some diagnostic, right? So no errors, no problems found. And he said, yes, and I created it for you. Great. You now have a separate CRUD practice mini project with split files. Great. So it comes with a CRUD lab. Let's take a look at it real quick. Unable to open CRUD lab HTML. The editor cannot be opened because the file was not found. It is found. Let me cancel it. Oh, I see. This is the old one. So let me cancel it. Let me just press here. I believe this is the one he's talking about. And if we press here, it's in the token sandbox. Oh, it's because I moved the file. Right now, the path location, as you can see, is pointing to token sandbox CRUD lab. So it's pointing to the parent folder. And it's supposed to be within the parent folder, but it's not. I moved it to a different location. Anyway. Yeah, I moved it into a file called labs and then CRUD. So if we close this, right, we don't see our files no more. So if we open it, now we see it. All right, so we're looking at the CRUD lab HTML. So this is the skeleton, right? This is the shell, right? It's empty. So well, it's not empty. It's basically a house before it's built. Just the woods, the skeleton, right? So obviously it comes with the head. This is where the metadata lives. I don't think we need to explain this anymore. This is the character set. This is what the browser uses to display the language. In this case, is going to be whatever you type in here with the keyboard, and it's English, right? The keys, right? And this is the alphabet, whatever, the numbers, alphanumeric, whatever you type. This is why you're able to see it, because the character set is set to UTF-8. And this is the meta name. This is with the meta, with the attribute called name with a value of viewport, and then with another attribute called content with a value of width, which is device minus width. And then we have another attribute value of initial scale to 1.0. So this is just basically so it can look good on your phone with the help of CSS. All right, so it applies certain rules to make sure that it looks good on your specific phones, such as either your iPhone or your Samsung. They have different viewports. So because of this line of code, we got to make sure that it looks good on your phone specifically. So we got the title, that's the tab. If you look at, if we run this over here, open with live server, the tab is called CRUD Labs JS data store. Okay, so that's on the tab. Okay, and then this is the link. We're linking the CSS. This is not ECMAScript. If it was ECMAScript, we wouldn't need this. Okay, that's for another video. And then we got the body where the contents live. And we have the main, which is where our main content lives. And I believe we gave it this container this is the app container, by the way. And this is where the shell lives, right? And then we fill it up. Or yeah. And we have, obviously, this is the H1, which is the heading right here, CRUD Labs. And we give it a paragraph here, class, with an attribute of a class attribute, and this p tag is the sub p tag, right? A sub element, and it's just a text. This is what you see right here. This right here. This lab uses a JavaScript array as the data store, not SQL. Great. And then we have a section, the create section. We have another section, which is the update section, and they come with placeholders. The update section says new price. If you look up the update section, new price right here. So it has three input boxes, and they all have placeholders. The first one is ID, the second one is new name, and the third one is new price. See? ID, new name, new price. Great. Then we have the delete, and we have the read, and we have here a table. Let me look at this table. Here's the table. Great. The table has three categories: ID, name, price. ID, name, price. All right. And then in the table body, we have an attribute with the value of products body. So this is the product body elements. Okay. And then we have a script here. This script is this is a classic EMPLET script. Let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and, oh no, not in here. Control copy. Right. So I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, I'm a copy of this. And I think we have them open here. And this again, guys, we're gonna use this to our advantage. Eventually, I'm gonna click out here, press Control All, and then we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go ahead and create one of these over here. How to learn how to code right here. We're gonna create one of these, a question and answer, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm prompting him a question, and he's gonna give me the answer, and then eventually we're gonna go through it like this, and we're gonna practice some more. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. Repetition equals experience. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and ask them, and this is how we learn. This is my learning pattern, my loop. I don't watch as much video tutorials, even though they're very satisfying and we get results very quick. But this is I like to put in the hard work. So we're gonna go ahead and enter this, and then I'm gonna ask them, is this EMPLET script classic? And you're gonna press shift enter to not prompt them, to give some space, or to, you know, get space on to the next line. All right, so this is this classic ECMA script. Let's see what he says. Yes. Cha-ching. Is the classic traditional way of loading a JavaScript file into an HTML document. In modern development, it is called a classic script or standard script, or to distinguish it from newer alternative. Here's what it makes it classic and how it compares to what developers use today. So what makes it a classic script, right? It's a global scope by default. Any variable or function declared at the top level of CRUD label JavaScript are attached to the global window object. If you loaded a second script right after it, both scripts would share the same space and could easily overwrite each other code by accident. Parser blocking: when the browser reads your HTML from top to bottom and hits that line, it stops parsing the HTML, downloads the JavaScript file, runs it, and only then finishes loading the rest of the HTML. This is why classic scripts are usually placed at the very bottom of the body, just like you have it here, so they don't slow down the page render. Right, because then it'll jump right into that page and read that page, then it comes back to HTML. So the modern alternative, module script. Today, developers frequently add type module to that exact same tag, such as this module source, and then it connects it, loads it. All right. But why would it use source? All right, that's another subject. Okay, so adding type module, upgrade your classic script into ECMAScript module. Upgrades your classic script into ECMAScript module. Oh, okay. So, which changes the behavior in two major ways. Local scope. Variables don't leak into the global scope. Everything stays safely into CRUD Labs JavaScript unless you explicitly export it. So, deferred loading. The browser automatically downloads the script in the background without freezing the HTML parser, meaning you can safely put the script tag on the head tag of your document without hurting performance. The browser automatically loads the script in the background without freezing the HTML. So this could be a instruction. Is the pre-instruction. What is it called again? So is ECMAScript is I asked this question, but I always want to come back to it. Is ECMAScript a pre-instruction? I know that that's the wrong terminology. I'm looking for another word. Pre-instruction, um, mm, like um, like doc type. You'll probably give me the terminology right now. Pre-instruction. No, ECMAScript is not pre-instruction or attack. Like they belong to two completely different categories, right? Doc type is markup declaration, right? Tag is an instruction oriented HTML. Its only job is to tell the browser, hey, this modern is a modern HTML document type, right? But I was looking for the actual terminology. Okay, guys, so you guys know what I mean. So basically, what I was trying to get at is besides the fact that I was looking for the specific um, terminology or the specific phrase to explain doc type HTML, is that doc type HTML is a pre-instruction given to the browser before we run anything. Make sure you read this line and make sure that you set the browser and make sure that it doesn't enter Quirks mode. Quirks mode is that it uses classic CSS that makes your page look, you know, it makes it look out of control. It's not gonna look nice. Things are gonna be off. It's gonna bleed to through the window or whatever. The there's gonna be the specific like containers aren't gonna be larger than life or whatnot. It's not gonna look good at all. Has to do with border box. So basically, this is just saying it's HTML5. Make sure it's up to date, but it's HTML5 standards. So that's what I was trying to get at. So where were we here? So this is classic ECMAScript. Okay, great. So we could keep moving. I don't think we need any more information here. I think we got as much as possible. Doc type is like the zoning permit posted on the front of the fence. It just alerts everyone what kind of structure is being built. Oh, I like that word structure. So HTML is like the structure of the house. Okay, so ECMAScript is a universal built-in code manual. It dictates exactly how the electrical wiring must be connected so the light turns on properly when someone interacts with the house. Great. So where are we now? Yeah, this all happened because I was in this file and I went all the way down here and I saw this line of code. And I was like, great, let's go over this. So why does help? It matches real project structure. HTML, CSS, JavaScript separated. Easier to learn file responsibility, cleaner path before you move to real SQL database backend apps. What it does creates products. So this creates products. Right here, okay. Real product in a table, update by ID, delete by ID, reset seed data. Important to note, this is still JavaScript CRUD, arrays as data store, not SQL yet. Okay, that's fine. It's the right intermediate step before a database pane. So we're going to open it, use the create, update, delete controls to watch the table update. Everything validate. No errors in all 3 files. If you want next, I can add a second version called CRUD SQL Lab using the browser SQL-like syntax so you can compare JS CRUD and SQL CRUD side by side. You know, that would be nice. Did we actually create one of these? Now, okay, so look at this right here. So, because I'm about to tell him to do so, we're going to use everything, as much ammunitions as we can. And I'm going to press Shift Enter. Please do. He's optimizing the tool. Let's look at, we're doing pretty good. We have a whole month for this. So if I spend 10% per week, and I only have, there's 100%, that's 10 weeks. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? So I could spend 20 per week, 20%. And then I have additional here. This one is, I got 8,000 here. So actually I got more in here than here. This is my backup. Great. So he says, I'm making a second lab version now with its own HTML CSS file so it can, excuse me. So, sorry about that. So it can show JavaScript CRUD and SQL-like CRUD side by side. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna leave this for last. I'm gonna go ahead and press keep, okay? And we'll go through this for last. Let's go ahead and finish here. This is supposed to be around here. So let's see, right here. A little higher. Okay. Nope. We're getting close. Nope. Nope. Shoot. Okay, so here we are. This is where we left off. Can we? No, no, no. Wow. I believe this is where we left off. If you want next, I can add a second version called. Okay, guys, so we did what we did here, and that was also practice. Practice makes perfect because every time I type in a prompt here, it goes all the way down, and then we got to go back up to figure out where we left off, even though I could just press here, Control All, you see, and copy all this, and then create a, I could do that, you know. Let me see, there's a way to do that. I think Control. I remember there was a way to do that. I could just press copy all, right? And then I come in here. I can ask my other buddy to create. All right, guys. So there's a phone call going on. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next video. Let me see who's calling me, guys. So my camera's cut off. Shit. Okay, guys, so I am back. I just had a quick phone call from my 9 to 5 boss. This is not my 9 to 5. This is what I do out of passion and love for coding and learning. This is my pastime. Get a hobby. Anyways, we have to move on to the next prompt. Again, I did copy this, so I'm gonna go to over here. Actually, let me start a new section, a new tab. I'm gonna paste it here. Let's see, did it? Oh, yes, I did. Yes, it did. Great. So I'm gonna ask him to convert this into convert into a markdown file. This is a little slow because it's probably reading what's going on here. Convert this. I'm gonna put this here into a markdown file and then press enter. Let's see what he's gonna say. It looks like your chat history cut off right as your previous assistant was breaking down your brand new editable workspace file. Okay, so where to go from here? Since you have code split into actual file, would you like to write some JavaScript to handle the create? No. What is it saying here? Let me look at this. I thought it copied everything. When you copy all, right? Let me look at it again. Yeah. So it did copy everything. So I wanted to convert it into a, let me see. Shift enter. Can you, and why is it so slow? Can you please make this into a markdown file? So he did it. Or did he? Yeah, he did. He did. My thing is that while he did do it, it's just that it's like, let me see. Let me see what's the last part over here. No errors found. It doesn't look like he did exactly what I expected him to do. No. No. It's alright, guys. We're gonna go ahead and move forward. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. I don't want to spend too much time on that. So now we're gonna have to move on to the next prompt. Let's move all the way to the top. Somewhere around here. Yeah, this is, can we organize the files? Right, so basically, can we organize these files into folders? Basically, what I did here was I just added 2 folders, right? 2 layers. It's called labs, and within labs, I have the CRUD and then I have the SQL CRUD. Okay, that's all I did. I organized it. So what's the next prompt? So if you want next, I can add an optional SQL mode pane. Wow, I can't believe that I went over this so quick. Wait a minute. This is different. Okay. So here we first added the first one, which is the JavaScript one. Yeah. So the first prompt was, what database language are we using here? We're using, and maybe can you add a pane to also learn how to CRUD? Okay. And that's where he added the JavaScript CRUD. And he says it right here, right? He says, I'll add a dedicated CRUD practice pane to the sandbox and wire it into the save import, and it behaves like other panes. CRUD pane successfully, the pane supports fully wired. And then, great question. That was the question. And he says, so for CRUD here, it's JavaScript CRUD. Great. Just wanted to confirm that I was reading the correct one. You guys, I mean, when you're doing all this stuff, there's a lot going on at the same time. And you want to make sure that you are reading the correct information. You just don't want to give out any type of information. For some reason, something's telling me to put my second screen over here. Like that, I don't have to. Hopefully I don't get electrocuted. Like that, I don't have to look to my right all the time. And my screen went off. Great. Isn't that amazing? Let me fix it. Uh-oh. What you thought? What just happened there? There's definitely a glitch going on. Let me fix this. I got my Samsung phone here is acting up. And I think it's because I have a glitchy extension cord. Now this extension cord is not the best extension cord. I gotta be careful with that extension cord. Okay, great. So, all right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and move to the next prompt. I think we read this one already. No? Yeah, yeah. We already did this one. I don't need to cover it once more. The separate file we already read. Hmm? Okay, so I don't think we did this one. Oh, this is the. Yes, we can. Yeah, we can, and that's a smart setup. I'll create a separate mini CRUD lab with dedicated HTML. So let me see. This is the one that I'm looking at right now. This one right here. It's just that it threw me off a little bit because we were talking about files, but then again, the files create an application, because my first prompt based on this prompt or idea was just to create the files, not an actual application. So I can actually use these files to then manipulate the data in here. You know, just code it and then do what I want to do in here, not in an actual application. But he decided to create an application. So it matches real project structure easier. So what it does, create product name, whatever, and then it says this is still JavaScript CRUD, and then he says open with live server, and then create whatever you want to create. We create, let's say, shoes. The price is 9. 77 or 70, and then we're going to add it. There it is. And we could update it by ID. The ID is 3. And we could just choose it 3, and the name now is going to be shoes 2, and the price is going to be 75. And now we could update it, and now it's 75. You see? So now we could delete it by ID. Just press 3 in here and delete it, and now it's gone. And we could reset seed data. Seed data loaded. Okay, great. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Can we organize it? Yes, we did organize it. And here we are. This is where we're going to start our new video. Okay, guys? Let me go ahead and comb my hair really quick. I have 0 views. Did I get a message? It looks like I got a new message. I'm not sure what viewer stream boo is. I wonder what it is. Let me see. I keep seeing this here. I want to see what this viewer stream boo is. It says .com. We'll go ahead and copy it. Hopefully it's not a virus. And then I'm gonna go into my Google, Control New, Control V. I wish I knew what this was. Cheap viewers, streamboo.com, remove the space. As some others have said, ever since I got it, now a single one of those guys have gone through. Highly recommend it. Refers to a prominent spam and botting service targeting Twitch streamers. That the platform is widely known in the streaming community for operating automated bot accounts that flood Twitch chats with promotional messages like cheap viewers or best viewers to sell artificial inflated viewer counts. Streaming platforms and users community warn that engaging with or purchasing these services violates Twitch terms of service and can result in the channel being permanently banned. To protect your channel from spam, you can take the following actions and steps: block specific words, use moderation bots, implement third-party tools like Siri bots, Nightbot, or Stream Elements to automatically ban or timeout users who post these promotional links. Okay, so it's just a bot going haywire in Twitch, spamming people with these messages. So you could buy counts, artificial counts, or artificial likes, right? To sell artificial inflated viewer counts, okay? I'm not looking into that. All right, great. So guys, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and jump into our next video. All right, here we go. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. In the last video, let's go ahead and have some more fun. And today we're going to go ahead and move on to the next prompt. And this prompt reads, basically I'm the one giving him the prompts, and I'm dissecting these prompts and going through the code line by line. And there's obviously a correlation with all these prompts because it's based on this project that I'm working on, and I'm building different applications that will help us how to learn, not coding, how to learn how to learn how to code. So basically, like I said before, I know I keep repeating this, but if you look at my notes, this is what we're doing. How to learn how to code, right? The ultimate self-taught developer blueprint. So that at the end of the day, what we're doing here is we're doing the self-directed learning. right? So this tutorial focuses on self-directed learning, the skill of running your own learning loop. So basically, it's not about how to learn how to code. It's how to teach yourself how to learn how to code. Yeah. So again, the main takeaway is self-directed learning is the skill of running your own learning loop. And that skill is what lets you teach yourself any programming language. So whether you want to build websites, applications, or automated tasks, this video will teach you the core framework needed to teach yourself any program language from scratch. So it's teaching yourself how to learn how to code. It's a tongue twister. And it's probably also a what's that other word? Yeah, okay. It'll come to me sooner or later. I usually don't use that word. Oxymoron also, but why think so negative, right? So basically it says here, stop trying to memorize syntax and start learning how to think like a developer. In this comprehensive seminar, we shift the focus away from specific language rules and instead look under the hood at the actual mechanics of self-directed learning. Self-directive learning. I have to reevaluate this because this is a tongue twister. So in this comprehensive, right? So basically, like I said, notice the mindset patch required. Mindset patch required. Stop trying to memorize syntax and start learning how to think like a developer. This tutorial focuses on self-directed learning, the skill of running your own learning loop. It would be really nice if I could just add this somewhere. But okay, so let's keep it moving, guys. I'm sorry for sidetracking. This is where we at. So the prompt reads, if you want, okay, so let's start all over. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. Today we're gonna go ahead and go over this prompt. So the prompt reads, if you want next, I can add an optional SQL mode pane using in-browser SQLite via a client-side library. So you can practice real SQL CRUD too, or also. So then my prompt is actually please add. I just copy this piece of information that was all the way up here. So I don't think we need to. If you want, I can add an optional mode pane, right? And this is I skipped this and I went and prompted him here. So what happens is whenever you want to keep follow follow on follow on a previous direction. So you want to go ahead and scroll up and find that information you want to copy it, paste it in here, and then just prompt him to please add it, like I did. Please add. Okay, so that's what he did. Great call. I'll add an optional SQL mode pane so the sandbox using in browser SQLite and wire it into safe import export so it behaves like the other panes, right? I am updating both of the blank sandbox and the blank sandbox JavaScript now. So SQL Paint has been added and wired through all the safe import flows. I'll run a quick diagnostic check now to ensure both files are still clean, right? So he went ahead and he added it. You now have an optional SQL mode pane in the blank sandbox using in-browser SQLite. So he went ahead and updated the files, right? He updated these files. What this SQL pane does. So let's see what he did in these files. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the HTML. He went ahead and he created the structure, right? This is the empty shell, the structure, the backbone, the skeleton, right? First you have the skeleton, then you add the meat, the bone marrow, the blood, whatever. In this case, the structure of a house, you have the structure, which is just the wood skeleton. And then you add, the walls, the bathroom, the kitchen, the sofa. The sofa and paintings are probably the styles and stuff like that. And JavaScript would be like like the people, like maybe the car, anything that provides a movement, a verb. So we are here. So he just created a new SQL test area. So we're talking about this area right here. So we want to go back to our blank sandbox. So he added this one here. We explained the CRUD. Now we're here, SQL. So let's take a look at it. So here it is. And we already went over it. So I don't think it's necessary to go over it again. This is the placeholder, and this is what you see in here. Or if it was empty, this is what you would see. Let me go ahead and clear it. I'm gonna hit OK. And this is the placeholder. This is the placeholder. See, it starts with SQL double dash, right? SQL double dash, right? So now now let's go into the blank sandbox and see how it works. The meat and the bone of the skeleton, right? So wow, this is a lot of information that I never looked into, but this one is definitely a lot more lengthier, and it's quite a challenge to read this. So I don't know if I want to go into this as of right now, but this I was looking into this language, and this has to do with, it has a little of HTML in here. I like to call this inline code. Inline is inline block because it uses HTML within JavaScript. All right, guys. So I personally don't think we should go over this as of right now. We're not ready to deal with this at the moment, but in the near future, I believe that we will. As of right now, all this information is cluttered, so I don't think it's necessary at the moment. All right, guys. So I don't know if this is coming from what I inputted in here and then I saved it in here. So again, let's just keep it moving, guys. That's just something we're not gonna pay attention to at the moment. But we definitely did get our answer to our prompt, which is basically this pane right here. And we know what it does. All we need to do is add code in here, and we're gonna get a a display over here, an output. So if we keep reading, it says what this SQL pane does. New SQL text area pane. Let me go ahead and close this. I don't want to add like a symbol or a dot over here and then it doesn't work. Or a period or whatever. New SQL text area pane in the editor's stack. Run SQL statements in an in-browser SQL like engine. Support common CRUD SQL like create table. So show query output, tables messages directly in the preview included in, right? So included in, right? It's also included in autosave, local storage, manual save, export, clear flow. So SQL runs in memory per build refresh of preview. SQL runs in memory per refresh of preview. Which is ideal for practice. It loads SQL.json from CDN at runtime. Okay, so validation errors found in both updated files. If you want, next I can add a preloaded run CRUD SQL demo button. Transaction example, begin, commit, rollback, and beginner SQL exercise with expected output checks. Okay, guys, so I'm thinking about doing this in the next video. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me. Now we know how this works. In the next video, we're gonna go ahead and run some examples in the SQL pane, and it was fun. I'm gonna go ahead and start the next videos, and I'll see you over there. Thank you.